Okay, so this is odd in that I have no idea if I'm live or not because I'm trying something new, which is Restream. And I imagine that the chat is supposed to show up. You'd think that a guy would test this stuff before he tried it, but that's not me. I just do stuff willy-nilly. I just go, when I was a kid, I was taught how to swim by being thrown into the deep end of the pool. So, it's a true story about my life. When I was young in Curtis, Nebraska, I became a certified lifeguard. And one of the things I had to do at my pool was prove that my final test by rescuing my sister Julie. And one of the things they did when you're a lifeguard, is they constantly tell you this stuff about how the victim will be fighting and they'll probably try to kill you because they'll be so scared they'll pull you underwater. And my sister tried to kill me. And this is what she did most of the time, actually. And I punched her in the face a couple times and then she stopped. And that's what I remember about becoming a lifeguard. I never actually did the lifeguard. I never, you know what I mean? I never actually had a job as a lifeguard. I just got to be a certified lifeguard so I could tell that story. So, how's everybody doing? I can see people are showing up in the chat. So, uh, here we go. It was an interesting week of college football. And we had, one of the things that I'd like to do is I'd like to always consider this a discussion. I don't like to, this isn't like radio where you just talk and people listen. I would really rather have people, in the chat section and stuff like that, ask questions or make points or be angry and call me dumb. I don't care. Penn State, Illinois, 9 overtimes. Anybody else watch that game? I mean, it felt like America was being held hostage for a while. I don't know why I did use these. But it felt like the United States was being held hostage by these two teams for like a long time. I know that a lot of people complained about the overtime structure, but I guess until you get into it, what was so bad about it? I mean, why was it so terrible other than having them continually run series? Nobody who planned this ever thought that Penn State and Illinois were so terrible on offense from the 3-yard line that they couldn't score 2 points. And that it was tough to watch over and over. I mean, you had guys that couldn't get into the end zone. They couldn't run the ball. They kept trying to throw the ball. Nobody could catch the ball. And then the quarterback couldn't throw the ball. Sikowski broke his arm. Penn State got beaten. They were in the top 10. And what that does is this. Illinois, a team I laughed at in one of my videos recently and got some crap for it, now has a win against the top 10 team. 1 year under Burt. And they have accomplished in less than 1 year what Scott Frost has not done in 4. And Scott Frost hasn't beaten a ranked team at all. So I think that's kind of a key thing. Illinois, okay, let's go back to the thing I said about in this video where there were a lot of comments about the coaching, would you come to coach at Nebraska? And I think people misunderstood what I was getting at. Number one, when you look at it from a coach's perspective, not my perspective, but I'll be the coach, you look at it and you look at the Big Ten West and you say there is a massive amount of opportunity to be successful in the Big Ten West. Because like this year, nobody is good. There's nobody good in the Big Ten West this year. And if you're a coach and thinking about building your own program and having your own success, Big Ten West is kind of one place where you'd want to coach, because all the teams suck. And the reason why they suck is this. Can anybody name the last Big Ten West team that won the Big Ten championship? And anybody? There's a gob of you on the chat, I guess. I hope. It was like Wisconsin, 2012, 2011. It was a long time ago. You know, and that's the key there. I realize we have this Ohio State juggernaut sitting on the other side of the aisle, but you still can. You could still be a coach in the Big Ten West and really not have that great a team and get into the Big Ten championship game. You know, Minnesota hasn't won the Big Ten since 1967, I think it is. Illinois, you know, I mentioned Burt going there. Why would Burt take that job? Because Illinois has a massive population nobody's ever tapped into, apparently. Illinois doesn't have much of a history, but Burt certainly must have seen some potential there and then looked at the rest of the Big Ten West and thought, I can beat these guys. I've already beaten most of them. Some of them badly. Wisconsin scores again. But when you look at the Big Ten West, I mean, look at this year. And we'll try this. Well, you know, we'll try a caption. I'll ask my own question. We'll see how this works. Who is the most complete team in the Big Ten West? There you go. Who is the most complete team in the Big Ten West? I would say that it's Nebraska. I would, honestly. I'm making that up. I would say it's Nebraska, but Nebraska doesn't know how to win games. If you ask me after that, I'd actually say it's Minnesota. And the reason why I'd say it's Minnesota is because they have an offense that they lost two of their top running backs, and that offense continues to click. Why? Because they know what they're doing with it. And they have a defense that, you know, it's not lights out defense, and they don't have top defensive players from across the nation, but they do have enough of a defense to win the Big Ten West. And that's right now, Minnesota's in the driver's seat in the Big Ten West. They obviously have to beat Iowa and Wisconsin, two big rivals, but can they do it? Yeah, I think they can. And the reason they can is because Iowa is not that good. Their offense is terrible. We saw that when they played against Purdue, where they finally played a team that didn't throw them 3 points, and they couldn't score because Purdue's defense is just good enough. And then Wisconsin beat Purdue because they could, because Wisconsin can run well enough to beat Purdue, and then Wisconsin has a good defense, but again, no offense. All of these teams are just terrible. I mean, okay, maybe terrible is too strong a term. They're not good. They're certainly not great. And then you look at Nebraska is all the way at the bottom of these teams. And in year 4 of Scott Frost. Let's go to Bob here. Let me see what I can do. Bob, Penn State is not a top 10 team. One of the things you have to remember when you're saying things like this is this. Who is? Yeah, you're looking at teams this year, and they're just not that many very good teams. They're just, you know, it's, if you remember the 2007 season, somebody got ranked, and then all of a sudden everybody got beat when they got ranked. And this is one of those seasons where you probably got Georgia, you know, Alabama's up there. Ohio State seems to have recovered from the Oregon problem. Other than that, Oklahoma keeps winning games somehow. But they're, you know, the reason why Iowa made it to number 2 is everybody was confused as to who to put there. The reason why Penn State was in the top 10 is because who else are you going to put there? So if Penn State that great a team? Not without a healthy Sean Clifford. Let's see here. Hello, let's go with this one. We got to fire Scott Frost and start fresh. When I mean fresh, I mean burn down Nebraska. That's, wow, Stephanie, that's, I mean, if you wanted to burn down, you'd be talking about burning down all of UNL because here's my position on that this week. I don't think we're going to fire Scott Frost, and the reason why is because I think there's just too much 90s entrenched at Nebraska. There's way too much those guys there, and we keep doing this thing where we're close. And I do think I have made the video that I released today where I wondered about what we're doing on offense. But do we need to start over? I don't know. We still have a lot of this season left. Maybe we can make a bowl game. Maybe we can make a bowl game of 5-7 because we're well known for traveling well. But I can see at the end of this season, so one of the Hale varsity guys, I think it was, asked what would give you confidence about heading into the next season with Nebraska. What would give you confidence other than wins? And my answer to that was firing the offensive staff. I think that no matter what happens this year, somebody has to probably be fired for this. And because I think even if we get to 6-6, it's a matter of how we get there. But if you go into the next season, look at everything that's dependent upon this. When you look at Nebraska football, there's this giant economic base that's based on Husker football. All those things down the Haymarket, T-shirt sales, I don't know, name them. My God, just walk around there and look at all the commerce that's going on. But if the sellout streak's probably gone already. If by next season, if there isn't some kind of change or something doesn't happen, no matter what happens this year. And I don't want to endure another off season like last year where nobody cared. It's really sucks running a website when that happens because nobody cares and you still have to keep putting out stuff. Let's see. Let's go with this guy. I don't mind Frost, but I would like to see him get an offensive coordinator that's better and equal to him in talent. I don't disagree with this at all. I think last week, people asked me, what would you do? And honestly, I'd probably run something similar to what Scott Frost is running because I like that kind of offense. I think if you look at Ohio State, they have probably a little bit more of a power run game. And it's really hard to tell. When you look at Ohio State, for example, you look at them and you go, well, I like that offense because it generates shit ton of points. They were up, 44-7 against Indiana at half? Boy, Indiana sure fell off the scale, didn't they? But I think you look at Ohio State's offense, and they have a lot of power run in the spread. And, depending upon their quarterback and what his capabilities are, they can do more heavy quarterback run or more running back run. And obviously, they have 48 guys in their depth chart at running back thing to just take over one from the other. But I would probably run that kind of offense. Get him an offensive coordinator that is better or equal to him in talent. I am not convinced that Scott Frost knows what he's doing with the offense. I really am not. I'm not. I mentioned the video I released this morning. I mentioned, the two, Omar Manning and Austin Allen had 3 receptions between them in the TD receptions. And we don't do much in the red zone. And I think Scott Frost said something today during his presser that, you need to run your base offense and run it well. And my question is, what the hell is our base offense? And what do you guys think our base offense is? Inside zone, outside zone, everybody runs that stuff. But what is our base offense? What do we do? What can you look at and go, oh, well, we're going to get 3 yards with that? And I don't mean the whole lineup under center thing. I know everybody got all pissed off about that. I don't blame them. I think I made the argument last week why that's not as a big a deal for me. Let's go with Fred. I hope that Frost rights the ship, but my faith has waned. Does he keep his job if we don't make a bowl game this year and have a losing record next year? I think he keeps his job if we don't make a bowl game. I don't see him firing him. I don't see any sense of urgency in this at all. And we have a losing season next year. If we have a losing season next year, I don't think he'll have to be fired. I think we'll all just go to Lincoln and burn the entire fucking town into the ground. This stuff is insane to me that we have, look around the Big Ten West. I keep bringing up the Big Ten West. I want you to look at another football team in the Big Ten West and tell me which one of them has more athletes than Nebraska. Which one of them has more playmakers on offense than Nebraska? And that answer would be nobody. And the reason for that is, the reason why we're not winning is because I don't think we know how to utilize the guys that we have. You know, some famous general, I'm sure you all know his name, years ago said, you go to war with the army you have, not the one you want. And I keep looking at Scott Frost and I keep thinking, he's still waiting for the ones he wants. And, you know, I mentioned Bert earlier, beating a top 10 team. We're still sitting here going, if we only had the right guys here, if we only had the right guys there, I realize the offensive line isn't that good. But normally, like I said, you go with what you got instead of wishing for something else. And it just amazes me that I think that he's still like waiting or making excuses about why his offense doesn't work that well, because he's constantly looking for somebody that's going to clean it up for him. Let's go with this, and I didn't read that. I just picked this. Defense is a bigger problem than what anybody talks about. Gives up a ton of yards and doesn't make the big second half stop when needed, losing a lot of senior leadership after this year as well. I think the defense doesn't get talked about as much because the defense isn't really a problem. They have not gotten the takeaways that you'd like to see a defense get, although I think Nebraska is ahead in turnover margin. They do not have a great pass rush, so there's still work. And I think losing a lot of senior leadership after this year as well. Yeah, that is true, but I'm not that worried about the defense. I still think we have playmakers coming on. And think about it, who do we lose off the defense? No, in the chat section, I want you guys to answer. You have homework. Who are we going to lose off the defense? Let's go here. Owen. Big Ten West has become the new Big 12 North. Iowa blew it like always. Wisconsin is down this year. That's just it. This was a perfect year for any one of these coaches to step up and win the Big Ten West. And right now, I think that you're looking at this and saying PJ Fleck is in position to win this division, this side of the conference. And I don't think PJ Fleck's a bad coach. I think he's goofy. I think he's kind of a used car salesman, but he isn't a bad coach, and he's obviously got him going in the right direction. Wisconsin is down this year. Big powers in the East. You know, there are big games this weekend. Michigan State should be incredible to watch. And, you know, Owen, you bring up a good point here. I love the Legends and Leaders division. It was more balanced. Here's a big problem that we have for Nebraska right now. This stuff with the West sucking and the East being damn good with all these teams. Okay, it's probably only going to go on for a little bit longer. And then they're going to go, okay, we're going to move Michigan into the West and Ohio State stays in the East, or they're going to put Penn State with us over here. And our chances to win this division will be gone. I mean, we'll have to be really much better than we are. We won't be able to be fake good, which is a lot of the Big Ten West is fake good. But we need this is why this sense of urgency kind of needs to get in Nebraska's mind right now, because the opportunity is here and now. We've pretty much blown it for this season, but that doesn't mean we can't get our crap together for next, and I'm saying that even after I've said there is no hope. Oh, God. Jojo Doman, yeah. Ben Stilley is leaving. I think Cam Taylor-Britt, I'm not sure. He can come back next year, but I don't think we lose as much leadership as you think we do. But, I mean, it's certainly a concern, but the idea is we're building up those leaders again. I mean, the key to this is, you know what, I'll tell you what. I don't know what I'm doing with this show yet, and which really could be stopped in the sentence of, I don't know what I'm doing, which is fine. because I usually make it up as I go. I've done this my entire life. But I'm going to dig out a quote. And we'll put this up here. Oh, the text is too long. Okay, I'll learn how to do this later. Milt Tenneper, maybe now I'll try this again in another show. Milt Tenneper wrote a book called The Assembly Line. I have an autographed copy of that book that's actually autographed to me. It was really sweet. Ryan Tweedy from the Big Red Copcast got me that book, and it was, I think, one of the last things Milt sent out before he died, which is kind of sad, but I treasure it a lot. Milt Tenneper, in his book, said, most young men aspire to be the best, but many don't realize what it takes to get there. This is where older players become an influence. Their work habits and dedication to excel tend to rub off on the aspiring young players. Now, if that doesn't describe the 90s of Nebraska football, I don't know what does. Because that's the why we don't have to worry about the defense as much as we do the offense. And that's the reason is because those guys that came back this year made a huge impact, not necessarily in the wins and losses, but if we could keep this thing going, they make a huge impact on teaching the younger guys what they have to do to be successful. All right, so it's key. That's why it's key right now that we continue to get players and get them into the system and develop them. Are we developing them? Are we developing them? God, I don't know. Fire the quarterback coach. Wait, woo, we'll put these up here. This is kind of fun. Dawn, fire the quarterback coach and line coach. You know, I would say in Mario Verduzco's defense that you only have a data point of 1. And that's a big, I think that's a problem. And the reason I say that is this. We don't know if we don't know who's determining who starts there. Okay? For example, does Mario come up to Scott and say, you know, can we give Logan Smothers some, like, I don't know, a series or 2 this weekend? And Scott goes, no! No series for anybody. Can we give him a package? No package. You know what I mean? We don't know how that is all really working on the inside. We're not privy to that stuff. We could probably ask that at a press conference, but I don't know. Well, we'll see. But I said again in this video that I released this morning, I feel like Adrian Martinez has been coached to the point that he won't throw the ball in tight situations, and I think that's really detrimental to our offense scoring points. Because, I mean, you don't want a guy that's crazy. On the other hand, Brett Favre was always fun to watch. But, I don't know. Plus, I've talked to Mario Verduzco a couple times. I really like the guy. And that's a problem. Of course, I don't have to do the firing and hiring, so what the fuck do I care? Okay. What do we got? Totally agree. Frost is not talented. I'll put this here. We'll talk about this for a minute. I think that it's very hard to come home when he was at UCF, he could do whatever he wanted. Nobody cared. When he got to Nebraska, there was also massive shit tons of expectations on him. Plus, he's surrounded by all sorts of people that, you know, they did this way back in the way when. And I think that piles a lot of baggage on top of you. And you think about, I mean, compare it to a son taking over his father's family business. I've been an IT consultant for 3 decades. I don't know, my entire career, which is long because, look, I'm gray and old. Actually, I'm 35, but I dyed my hair gray, and I had cocaine addiction for a while. Anyway, I've gone through with small family-owned businesses sometimes, you know, a father giving the business to his son, and a lot of times they work out fine. And one time, the whole family blew up. The father ended up divorced. His son is estranged from him. We never talked to him again. The other son stayed with it was terrible. I mean, the whole freaking thing was terrible. But you get all this baggage when you come back and you coach where you grew up. Because, I mean, think about it when Scott Frost said, I know what it takes to win here. And then he has a roster size of 150 people, including a shit ton of walk-ons. I just think that there's been a lot of time passed between when he was here and now. And I think you have to sort through all those things that, you have to sort through all those things that aren't working and figure them out and then throw them away. And I think that's one of the reasons I'm making excuses for Scott Frost, for God's sake. Oh, hey. Hello, Mark Weiss. Thank you for the comment. We'll put this up here so I could tell you. There's a nice compliment. Forget it. Talking is hard sometimes. It really is. And it was a tough day today. Today was a brain foggy day for me because I have these sometimes, and I'm not sure why today was. Although I was working on trying to get Dropbox working with a Linux server, because we have to take these handhelds that are doing inventory. We have to take the scans from them, shove them into this cloud system, take them out of the cloud, put them into Dropbox, and then transfer them to Dropbox, the Linux system. I can't figure out why Dropbox isn't working on Linux. Anybody has insight to that, let me know. Okay. Okay, here we go. There you go. So defense is looming. Doman, Stille, Dismuke, Williams, and maybe Taylor Britt and Daniels. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 11. Not all of them starting all the time. But I don't think it's as many players as everybody thinks that the entire defense is going to collapse next year and that we're not going to have any good players. Who is it? Garrett Nelson's still going to be around. The Nick Heinrich kid. The guys on the defensive line. Come on. Ferguson? That's not it. Ty. Casey Rogers? I think we'll still have a serviceable defense. Fire the Frost, roll the dice. I'm not sure what this means. Fire the Frost, roll the dice, but the ad is a red flag. I am not. Kenneth, what are you doing? My God. One thing you don't hear mentioned was Tom Osborne's psych degree. I think that gave him a huge advantage in all aspects of his coaching. This is certainly true because I mentioned earlier that I see it just went away. This is what happens when you're old. Where's my wallet? I don't know. Oh my God. Gave him a huge advantage in all aspects of his coaching. You have to learn how to motivate people. And I think, as I mentioned earlier, here it is. I think we have more talent than anybody else in the Big Ten West. And those are the people we have to worry about right now. I mean, later on, we could worry about having more talent than Ohio State. But right now, we need to worry about who's the talent in our division so that we can win it and then go to the Big Ten title game. And I don't know, get obliterated by Ohio State till we figure out how to beat them. And then, but when you go back and look at this Nebraska squad, I don't think talent is the issue at all. The issue is, what is the issue? It's really hard. It was special teams. Now we seem to be decent on special teams, or at least not making as many horrible mistakes. But we seem to be, the problem is we can't put this all together and get everybody going in the same direction. Probably because we don't have a neat slogan like row the boat, which PJ Fleck does. And I'm going to surprise you all because I forgot to change before I started this. Look what I'm wearing. Isn't this terrible? I had to wear this when my son did some kind of orientation thing at Minnesota, and I still had it in there, and I thought, well, I'll wear this today so I can wear it out and throw it away soon. That's my excuse. Okay, what else we got going? Good. What was the other big game this weekend? Iowa State knocked off Oklahoma State and dropped Oklahoma State from the undefeated ranks. I watched that game, and it was kind of neat to watch Iowa State win because, I did have a soft spot in my heart for Iowa State. I mean, they're always getting the shit into the stick in the Big 12. And I don't know, it's good to see them have success with Matt Campbell, our next head coach. And then there was, who did Oklahoma play this weekend? Come on, dang it. I tweeted out something that I have been surprised with the Big 12. And it's hard to focus on all these sorts of things at once. Maybe I'll get better at this. I am surprised at Big 12 officiating. That's it. Thank you, Corey Warren. Kansas. Oklahoma played Kansas, and that was fun to watch because it was like Kansas was going to win, and then later in the game when they were like ahead, Kansas apparently announced to their entire student population that they could come to the game for free, and at that point Kansas faded, which is really kind of sad because I wanted to see Oklahoma lose to them. Just because if my team is not good, I want to see everybody else's hopes and dreams destroyed and shattered. Because that's the kind of person I am. I really resent basketball, but then maybe this year basketball will be much better for Nebraska, and I don't have to be as angry about other people having a good basketball team. But Oklahoma, Kansas, I was saying about Big 12 officiating. When we left the Big 12, everybody remembers the Texas A&M game, but we got screwed a lot. And it was like, here's your gift, Nebraska, for leaving the conference and going to the Big 10. You've seen none of that this year with Oklahoma and Texas. It's like they still get all the calls. And I think that's, you look at the Big 12 officials and you go, you're supposed to be screwing them here and there, at least sometimes. And you're not. What are you, so trained? Who's your masters? Texas and Oklahoma, that you can't just make horrible calls against them? And I guess not. But the Oklahoma-Kansas game was definitely fun and was so full of hope for destruction for Oklahoma. Okay, let's go with this guy. Why are walk-ons seeing key roles of the scholarship players overachieving in-staters or underachieving recruits? There's this. How we're managing this team, none of us know. None of us know what the bar is. If you're supposed to, for going to class, for being to meetings on time. These are all things that are expected of a player. Probably weight room workouts, those things. And if you don't do them, I guess it's Scott sending a message to you that you're not going to start. Like, why did Brody Belt, I think, start against Minnesota? That whole thing is a mystery, and that's why I sometimes wonder if you're a Minnesota Vikings fan, you understand completely what I'm about to say. Minnesota has been this far away from being so close to everything every year of their existence. People can remember, Vikings fans can remember their 4 Super Bowls and their 4 losses in Super Bowls. They can remember the Herschel Walker trade. They can remember Gary Anderson not missing a field goal for like a year and a half and then missing the one that counted the most. And yes, I am taking, if you're a Vikings fan, here's a dagger and I'm sticking it into you and twisting it. And there's this disturbing thing where it's, there's this thing where we're looking at Scott Frost and we're saying, oh, we're so close and we're so close and we're so close. And God knows how long we're going to keep getting closer. But some of the roster management is a complete mystery to me. I know in the past people didn't like it when you called out individual players, but I think those days are gone. Honestly, Bryce Benhart is starting at tackle. If you looked at the last year's Minnesota game and you went back to all that way to that video I did in a I did underneath the tree. You'll remember that I said, Bryce Benhart, if you can't block a guy, hold him, because they're not calling holding. I said that same exact line to Matt Slauson when I did the interview with him and Danny Woodhead. And last year, Benhart gave up a sack, or gave up Martinez getting hit and coughing up a fumble. That probably cost this Minnesota game. This year, Benhart gave up the guy that hit him in the end zone and caused that safety that blew all our momentum. So I don't know why Bryce Benhart is starting a tackle over like an Ezra Miller or a fence post. A fence post, because a fence post might actually it would stay in one place, and then Adrian Martinez could maneuver around so people could run into it and be blocked. And I hate to say that about an individual guy, but that guy he's not playing well, and I don't understand why he's starting at center. So or a right tackle or whatever it is. Yeah, right tackle. Well, when you look at why we're playing some players over the other ones, I have no idea. No idea, like I said, why Brody Belt started over Jacques Yant or Sevian Morrison or Ramir Johnson at Minnesota. I don't get it. I wish we had more explanations about that. At the same time, our coaches really aren't entitled to give those kind of explanations to anybody. And if I was a coach, I wouldn't. I'd be Bill Belichick. I'd say things like, yeah, he fumbled. There were 38 other plays. Stuff like that. Okay. What else we going? Mark, you got here late. What do you think about the overtime rule? I think it's okay. 9 overtimes and the winner scored 20 points. It was like the Cheez-It Bowl, except that it wasn't a bowl. I mean, it was kind of horrifying to watch, but at the same time, you're like, oh my God, somebody's got to win this sooner or later. Can they go to 20 overtimes? The people that have to do this for a living probably are sitting there going, oh my God, this is horrifying. And then the rest of us kind of can watch this like we're watching a train wreck. And I don't think they should change the overtime rules just because of one game. I mean, they did that before, and then everybody complains about this. So I don't know what you would change the overtime rule to make it any better than it already is. Okay. Let's go with this one, understanding the playbook. That is a good point, and I would like to ask this question in response. Why is our offensive line blocking scheme so complex that guys can't beat? Why can't guys just get into the game and do a simple zone blocking scheme? Is that it? Does anybody know? Because we kind of hear things, and you remember the Bill Callahan era when somebody posted a picture of their playbook and it was like 683,000 pages long, and you're like, why in the hell would anybody use that for a college offense? Because it's way too complex. Takes too much time to learn when these guys are studying things like biochemistry. There's at least one biochemist, isn't there? But if it's understanding the playbook, then maybe in the next year we should simplify that so we can actually win games and get guys on the field sooner. It shouldn't take 3 years for you to walk on the field to learn a playbook like you're studying biochemistry. Go back to the Minnesota game. Again, go back to I hope you listened to the Matt Slauson and Danny Woodhead interview with me, because it was fun. But what did he bring up? Matt Slauson basically said Gophers ran nickel duo most of the time. And in my house, we make jokes about PJ Fleck's 3 or 4 plays he runs. And the thing about nickel duo is like it's an inside zone play that you kind of target the tight end, right? And I don't think we need to go back to having a fullback and a heavy set, but I think that Nebraska would probably benefit from having a standard set of plays they can run all the time that everybody could, you know what I mean? One guy gets his legs broken and you bring another guy in and he can just block, and that doesn't seem to be the case here. Okay. Let's see with this one. I didn't read it all. Can we play the game of the top 3 to 5 coaches we would want, if Nebraska does fire Frost this year or next, one of my favorite potential candidates is Tom Herman. No, we can't play that game yet because I'm not ready to. Okay, here's one. You guys are getting the hang of this. This is going better. Who you got in the Michigan versus Michigan State game? Mel Tucker has a really giant head, and I feel sorry for Jim Harbaugh, all the shit he's taken from Michigan fans. You know, a few months ago, I went to Texas to work for my brother's company and do IT stuff and things. And I was in the Houston airport, and there was this really good-looking large guy wearing a Michigan t-shirt. And I walked up to him, and I said something to him, and he goes, "Oh, God, are you an Ohio State fan?" And I said, "No, I'm a Nebraska guy." And he goes, "That damn Jim Harbaugh, blah, blah, blah." And here they are. And I hope Michigan beats Michigan State, even though one of my writers is a Michigan State guy, a Sparty guy. And the reason is because I want to see Michigan, Ohio State undefeated for, you know, and I don't know whose hopes I want crushed more, Michigan or Ohio State. That is why I'm for Michigan, because I want the highest amount of cruel potential of hope crushing and dream smashing. That's what I want. Okay. Let's see. Let's go with this one. Martinez playing too many plays. Late in the game, he is worn out. Already touches the ball more than any other player's quarterback. I wouldn't mind. I know I mentioned this in the video that went viral. I mentioned this in the video that went viral. That I kind of liked how PJ Fleck handles his quarterbacks with Tanner Morgan and Cole Kramer. And I think that actually won the game for him. Paul, yes, there are biomed majors. Well, good. I kind of hope so. Okay. I hopefully have blocked my first porn person. Oh, goodness. I guess I should have done this sooner. Like I said, I'm learning as I go. Let's go with this one. Our linemen don't know how to do their blocking assignments after 2 years. They are either unintelligent or the assignments are way too complex. I always thought zone blocking was, zone blocking because it was easy. I mentioned earlier Milt Tenopper's book, The Assembly Line. And when you read that book, I think you can be I just completely shocked at how technical some of the blocking schemes that Milt Tenopper was using were, and how precise they were in their blocking. But maybe I'll bring up passages of that for later. I think I probably tucked it away somewhere because it is autographed, like I mentioned, and it's very hard to find. What about Frost coaching quarterbacks and filling Vergusko's spot with the special team coach? That's a good, yeah. In other words, get rid of Mario. We wouldn't have Mario Verdusko on our team. That's what it's come to for you guys. I don't know about Frost coaching quarterbacks. I think he has enough to do as it is. And this is a question I should probably. I think that if you want to make special teams a bigger emphasis, there are not a lot of teams that have a full-time special team coach that's typically divvied up between staff. But I don't know about Scott. I don't know about Scott Frost coaching quarterbacks. I think he needs to manage a team in my eyes. And I don't think he should be taking on a position coach playing. Put it this way. Very early in this season, special teams was so freaking bad it was unwatchable and cost us games. And now it isn't. And that obviously we did something there where we said, oh, gee, we should emphasize special teams, which is kind of sad, but that's what happened. I don't think it's a matter of, okay, now I remember. We do have an inside linebacker coach and an outside linebacker coach, if I remember right. And most people just have a linebacker coach. So you could actually take the linebacker coaches and just make a linebacker coach and have the other guy do special teams and focus on it full time. Maybe that's what they did with Mark Dawson. I'm not sure with that. Okay, we'll move on. Wait a minute. Bring Pelini back. I don't think Bo Pelini would want to come back. I think that he's had his fill of Nebraska football and Nebraska fans, probably for a lifetime. And quite frankly, I think that what we've learned about Bo is that he's probably not a Division I 1A, FBS level coach because of his temper problems. And I we miss Bo Pelini kind of. I guess I don't want to get in too much trouble, but I know that Bo, from the media standpoint, from those guys dealing with him, it was very difficult to deal with. And I guess, sometimes you're around intense personalities that don't want to talk to you and don't want to give you all the quotes to do your job. And that was very frustrating for them. But it'd be kind of neat to have a Bo Pelini type sometimes out of Scott Frost. I wouldn't argue with that. Let's go. There's an outsider. Juan Blero. Really enjoy your videos, especially the instant reactions. Thank you. I know that Chip and Sale will do and a bad fit in the Big. OU is a bad fit in the SEC too. See, I think that we're an okay fit in the Big Ten. I just think that. All right, we're going to spend the next 15 minutes on this because I keep getting these, and I'll probably do a standalone video at some point about Nebraska not going back to the Big 12 or being a good fit in the Big 10, because I think you're wrong, sir. And the reason why I think Nebraska is a good fit in the Big 10 is this. It might be shocking to learn, but there is an actual university that's attached to the football team. And that actual university, I think, has benefited from the academic, prowess of the Big Ten. It doesn't matter what Nebraska ever does in its existence. They will always be known as Hicks. We will always be Hicks to the outside world. That's how it works. When you go to New York City and you talk to somebody and say, you're from Nebraska, they'll, you must be a Hick. Yeah, you're the city that the aliens always attack before everybody else too. So fuck you. Anyway, I've had to work with people from New York a lot, and my God, I don't wish that on anybody. Anyway, Nebraska's academics in the Big Ten needs to be there. Did you know that every year we've been in the Big Ten, we have won debate and speech? Probably didn't know that. It's a big deal to me. I wasn't a debate or speech coach. My roommate was, though, two-time national speech champion. The other reason why we're a good fit in the Big Ten is, I think, two things. Number one, the football problem is us figuring out who our head coach should be and having that guy become successful. Because I think all the rest of the pieces are there. So even if we weren't still in the Big 12, the same stuff would have happened. All right, Bo Pelini would have worn out his welcome and been fired because I think he just got exhausted with us and got exhausted with what he was doing. And I think we would have made the same crappy choices we did. Because the guys that were leading us, our athletic directors, when you go back, you constantly hear about Frank Solich. Okay, Frank Solich was fired by a bad athletic director. It was an egotistical, terrible person. Well, okay, he was an egotist, and he fired Frank. And, the same thing would have happened. Sean Eichhorst would have fired Bo if he was in the Big 12, and he would have hired Mike Riley, and Mike Riley would have sucked. Why? Because he's not a good football coach, not because of the conference we're in. We need to find a football coach that's actually going to lead us to winning, and we'll be fine in the Big 10. We could do that like tomorrow. I'd be all for it. The Big 10, also basketball conference, best basketball conference in the nation. I do believe that we have found the right coach in Fred Hoiberg, and I think we're going to start seeing those results this season. This basketball season should be the most, you guys should be excited for basketball season. And one of the things I want to explain to you about Nebraska, for you Nebraska people that are watching this, it's been a decade now, over a decade that we've been in the Big 10. And one of the things we have not learned about the Big 10 is this. When Iowa beats Purdue in football, Purdue gets them back by beating them in basketball. So we don't even, a lot of us don't even recognize our basketball team, and that's for good reason, because of the worst power program in history. I think that's going to change this year, beginning changing under Fred Hoiberg. I think it'll be really exciting to watch. I think the players are going to be amazing. But I think we're going to compete in the Big 10 in men's basketball, and that should be fun. Wrestling, Big 10 is by far the best conference in the nation, not even close, and we compete well there. Volleyball, Big 10. And, you know, I mean, Texas was back in the Big 12, and there was certainly some competitive stuff going on in the Big 12 with volleyball, but Big 10 volleyball. This Saturday night, you could go to Maturi Pavilion and see one of the best venues in the nation for volleyball, because that place will be amazing with Nebraska showing up. And I think if you went around to the other venues and watched women's volleyball, it'd be an amazing sport to watch. Baseball, moving to the Big 10 ruined our baseball program. It completely did. And I think in the decade that we moved, to the Big 10, we've discovered that the Big 10 doesn't care about baseball. The other schools have upped their game quite a bit. I mean, you've got Michigan hiring Eric Bakich, I think it is. You've got Rutgers now that's rebuilding stuff. I talked to some Rutgers parents last year at our series. They have a new coach, and they're re-improving their program. Even crappy Northwestern did some improvements to their field. Everybody's doing stuff with baseball on an individual school basis. Penn State still sucks because they still prefer to play a really terrible schedule that drives everybody's RPI down. So screw you, Penn State. And if you look at Iowa's schedule this year, they're doing the same thing. They're playing like high schools. And it's really disappointing in Iowa baseball that you're not scheduling better teams. You're not making things tougher on yourself. I thought when Rick Heller showed up there that he would be a very good coach and elevate their program. It hasn't turned out that way. I do think that Nebraska baseball with Will Bolt is going to be, you know what? It's going to be a fun spring sport so that it takes football off our minds to some extent. All right. Okay. I should be done soon. Let's see here. Dudley, the Big 12 has more winnable games. I would say I don't think so. I don't. Because, I mean, look at the Big 10 West. Get her earlier next year time, Dudley. I do understand, I kind of miss going to Ames every other year. Or, and I probably understand that people miss going to, like, I don't know, Lawrence and wherever the hell, Manhattan, easy drives out of Lincoln. I understand that you might miss that because of the Big 8, Big 12. But otherwise, we're in the Big 10. We're going to stay in the Big 10, make a lot of money. We should all like, I don't know, file for grants in the Big 10. You and me could file for, I don't know, some grant to study anger management. What? Baseball is almost done as a sport in America. Dudley, my friend, I'm talking about college baseball. And college baseball is number 3. Okay? It's college football, men's basketball, college baseball. That's how it goes. I have tried to argue this with other sports writers, and they know that I'm right. By the way, I don't pay any attention to Major League Baseball. I think there's a World Series going on or something, isn't there? Isn't the Astros in it? Didn't they like cheat last time and they're in it again? How do we know they're not going to cheat this time? Anyway, okay, we're running up on 8:24 p.m. I said I do these things about an hour. This is the first time I tried this with this software. Got a little bit dodgy. I'm not 100% sure how it works yet, but at least nothing exploded and the house isn't burning down. I guess, I think I'll be done. Thank you for watching. There's only two things I'll say next. And it's TV. I have enjoyed watching Apple TV. I've enjoyed watching Foundation, which I like. It's a good sci-fi series, comes out once a week instead of the binge watching thing. And it's been interesting because the characters are interesting. And then I watched Apple TV's Invasion, which is not, if you're a person that likes character development and not action at all, I guess that might be for you, but nothing happens. They have really interesting alien invasions and then nothing happens. And I want to be a fiction writer someday. I'd like to try it just because I've never done that. I've done nonfiction writing of many different varieties most of my life, but never really anything heavy fiction like a novel. And I'd like to try that once. But, so Foundation, good on Apple TV. No, I don't get any points for mentioning Apple TV. Invasion, not so much. Let's see. I think that is going to be it. And I hope you all are well. I hope we beat Purdue, for God's sakes, just so we can be happy. Although Nebraska football shouldn't probably determine our happiness. I hope you're staying well. Take care of yourselves. And good night.